Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to
Hello.
another episode of the Extra Credits Book Club podcast. I'm one half of the hosts, William Woodard. With me is the other half.
Alex Green.
That's right. And we're finishing what's it called? The Darkness Outside Us. I can
Yeah.
see it. I can see the title right there, and I didn't look at it. And look, something really cool happened while I was listening to the last bit of this book, and that is something that's never happened to me in my entire life, and it's a bit of an achievement for me, but my pen ran out of ink. Like,
Wow.
fully used it to its completion.
So wait, is that not how you usually use pens?
No, you always lose them before they run out. At least I
Whoa.
do.
Well, I mean, I'm also that person who has this is just one of my pen containers.
Right.
And despite owning so many pens, I fastidiously use each one until I cannot write. I don't care if I can't see the ink. It needs to be completely done before I get rid of it.
Well,
And I think that's just like a me problem.
for 1,000 years, I've been that guy who gets the bulk box of Bics.
Yep.
But now I've got a really nice bougie pen,
Oh yeah.
and that's all I've been using to write because it's got a nice little stand
Mm-hmm.
at my desk. So for the first time ever, I've used a pen to completion.
Can you refill the pen?
Yes,
Oh,
thankfully.
okay, that's good.
Came with a couple of inserts.
It would be a shame to lose such a bougie pen.
But okay, I guess we ought to talk about because last time, if you watched the last episode or listened to it, this is peak second monitor content for you guys. Um, so if you interacted with the last episode of this, we were actually kind of getting excited because the book was getting interesting.
Yeah.
It was getting fun. The tension was ramping up a little bit. And then that really shitty kid at a birthday, uh, he stabs the side of the bouncy castle and deflates it, ruining everybody's.
Yeah, it just lost any of the like traction or tension that it had created.
And it went fully into just playing house.
And like a Groundhog Day scenario.
Kind of.
Like I guess they could have made it more like insufferable, which I'm glad didn't happen. Like the amount of repetition between each like
Yeah, that's
clone
true.
iteration and having to like onboard them again into like who they actually are, what their real mission is or is not. At least we didn't have to do a ton of repetition that way, but
Yeah.
it was just like we find out all this cool shit. They're clones. They're probably near the far reaches of their galaxy. It's thousands and thousands of years farther into the future than they thought. And then it's like, okay, great. I guess this is just our life now. And then it just becomes about like a domestic partnership, which
Yeah.
is like not the worst thing in the world. It could
No, it
be,
is just really boring though.
yeah, but part of me is like, okay, I would rather that than have to deal with another like Nina and Matthias enemies to lovers.
Boy, I can't wait for that trope to get the, for the new annoying trope to usurp it.
Yeah,
Because
I
I've
know.
I've had it with enemies to lovers. It's so dumb. No one can do it. That makes it. No one does it in a way that makes me go like, yeah, this kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's
Because
just like petty bickering and then they start fucking at one point.
yeah,
But like they're not like there's no like enemies.
no, it's people who like immediately like each other and they don't like that they like each other. That's not enemies, folks.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah, but they're like,
Sometimes you are really into someone that you can't stand.
yeah, that's true.
And that's not enemies to lovers. I hate to break it to you. Uh you weird girls who are writing books.
Carrie Maniscalco, particularly. Oh
Sarah J. Maas.
my God.
But I don't remember how part 3 starts.
It starts with, instead of the tasks being read, it's like how many clones are remaining. So there's 12
Right.
Ambroses, 12 Kodiaks, and then 191 days until Titan. And so it's like Ambrose is waking up again. And it, like, he immediately starts watching what can only be described as like foraging porn.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
Yeah.
he discusses at length like how the ships, like the countries didn't load up their like respective hard drives with porn, but instead it's like these erotic videos of like, you can just like say what like gender, race, like features a person has and then put them in some type of like scenario.
Yeah.
And it's like he chooses someone who he thinks looks like Kodiak, going like fucking plant picking in the woods.
Yeah,
And
like
he's like
survivaling.
really, yeah, he's like, ooh, like the ankles are flexing, and like he's so
Yeah, it's
into
so
like
weird. Like of
his
all the things,
ankles. Yeah, it's like
the
very like
ankles.
Renaissance scandalous.
I made a note that I thought it was very interesting that all of the clones of Ambrose are just unwaveringly horny, as if like being super horny is just in his DNA.
It's like a genetic trait at this point.
Yeah. But as he's watching this porn, he gets interrupted by himself,
Mm-hmm.
and he starts speaking to him. One of the previous Ambroses starts being like, hey, idiot, let me give you the lowdown. Here's how it's gonna go." And he starts talking to him, and I wrote down that I thought it was hysterical that old Ambrose left notes for him in porn because that's where he knew that idiot was gonna be.
Yeah, like specific like mushroom picking porn of all things.
It's just so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. And like, but as soon as they like these clones meet, they're like, because the previous ones like left such like detailed notes about like how to fall in love with the other person
Yeah,
over everything. It was all about like how to be a good partner to this person.
right.
And so they meet each other and they start to get to know each other, and then they're just like immediately super horny for each other, and they
Yeah.
just get like matching boners, and they're like, I'm really curious about what it's like to be with you. And then they start talking about like pulsars and shit because they're trying to figure out how to validate the information that their previous clones told them. So they're
Right.
like, well, we have to find a way to measure how far away we are from where we think we are or something.
Yeah. It's like it's not quite the level of obnoxious science that's in Three Body Problem, but it is the
Nothing
level
is.
of obnoxious science that made my ears glaze over. I was like, I don't care. I don't care what you're saying.
No, but I mean, nothing can be worse than using fucking red flags as a way of simulating a computer from Three Body Problem.
I forgot about that.
That I'll never forget. That was one of the worst things I've ever experienced in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I say anytime someone's like, but it's so good. It's like so fucking science, bro. I'm like,
Yeah.
go fucking,
It
I
sure
know
is.
you're a software developer. Go develop some software using a real computer.
Um But I think they also find out that they are like right on the rim of the Milky Way galaxy.
Yeah, they're like in like the dead space of nothing at like the end of the galaxy.
Right. Like right at the last few tails of the the last of the spiral, I guess,
Yeah,
where
and
there's barely
Kodiak
anything left.
loses it.
Yeah,
Like
Kodiak goes full like he has a mental break and he never
immediately.
recovers from it.
No, like this clone was just like a bad one. Like it just had a little like psychotic break defect in it, and he like goes into denial. He thinks this is a test to see how they deal with pressure, and he's like, we're in a simulation. That's the only reasonable answer to this. And then he starts like destroying helmets. Like he
Yeah.
just goes to town. He has a screwdriver that he carries with him at all times and just starts like destroying property.
Yeah, he
And
starts
like
like
Ambrose
gouging
just like cries about it.
he starts like gouging one of the helmets like constantly, and he never really gets anywhere, which speaks to the craftsmanship of the helmet. But also
True.
it raised a question that I wrote down because I was like, "Hey, wait a minute. What would happen if all the spacesuits were gone?"
Yeah. Like
Because
that's kind of it for them.
yeah, there's 12 left, and if they destroy those two suits that are left, because I think they had like five.
Yeah, like my question is why not 20 suits? Why not one suit for each clone?
Yeah. Also, would if going back to the first time that they died, the first time we see them die at least, why would the AI kill Kodiak while he's in a spacesuit when that is clearly a finite resource that they can't just make another one of?
I mean, that's a great question, and one that I don't think was considered thoroughly by the author of the book.
Yeah. But like this whole section was just us getting to experience how poorly a round of clones can go.
Yeah.
Because Kodiak loses his shit, Ambrose can't do anything about it, and the AI is like, well, that's it for this. This didn't go well at all, so everybody out. And it just
No,
like
like
sucked everybody out.
yeah, like Ambrose figures some things out. And like he tries to fight Kodiak with the screwdriver, but
Yeah.
then Kodiak like fucks his shit up and nearly kills him. And then he goes like catatonic and pees himself, and Ambrose is just like trying to
Yeah.
carefully remove the spacesuit that he peed in so he can clean it. And basically like Kodiak breaks open the airlock and kills both of them.
Oh
He's like,
yeah.
you'll see what happens. You'll find out like this has been a simulation the whole time. And the AI just like lets it all happen. She's like,
Oy, ugh.
fucking yikes.
Well, I better start defrosting the next ones.
Yeah.
Uh, and then when they die, the next part is like 4 minutes long.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what happens in it because it was so short, but I did write down I'm starting to think that investing in all these clones was the most inefficient way to do this.
Yeah, like the fact that you would just send 20 sets of clones into space and that's with 4 spacesuits each and that's your plan for humanity, like,
Yeah. Uh,
huh?
Also, like, exactly the amount of clones that it would take based on how many thousands of years are apart in between each shift, essentially,
Mhm.
with no contingency for, well, what if they fucking lose their minds?
Yeah.
So now
I
they're like
wonder,
down two clones that should have lasted like several more months.
yeah, like I don't know. I wonder if it's just like the hubris of the Cusk Foundation that's like, no,
Well,
nothing
we'll
we
get into
create.
that later.
Yeah. Um But this one was only like 4 minutes long. We find out there's 9 sets of clones remaining, and Ambrose watches a video of another earlier Ambrose getting murdered by Rover in his
Right.
sleep, and that's
Right,
pretty
right,
much
right.
all I got from that section.
Yeah. The that particular Ambrose was super paranoid. So he was like filming himself
Right.
sleeping, thinking that the AI was going to kill him, and then it did.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's that. Um, and then the next part starts with them immediately like fucking.
Yeah, like Ambrose he's up out of his coma and he's watching more foraging porn.
Yeah,
There's 4,000 tasks to do
yeah,
and like one suit left. And then Kodiak comes into his room and plays because he can't sleep. And Ambrose plays violin for him. And then they're just like, hey, we should fuck.
yeah. And it makes me wonder how many clones, because a couple of them that we've seen have gotten close, like they've done hot
Yeah.
and heavy snuggling. But I think this is the first
Yeah.
time they actually fuck, and
Yeah.
I feel like for as horny as Ambrose is, he don't got the riz. You know?
I
He's
know.
not rizzed up. If he
He
can't
is
seal
not.
the deal over the course of 6,000 years.
Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing.
And then, ooh, we get the most horrifying thing to ever happen in any book we've read on this podcast to date.
Yeah, like bar none. This is the worst.
This is Hall of Fame shit. Complete madness, right? So they fuck. They do the dirty, and afterwards, Ambrose expresses his surprise at this is he essentially says this is the first time I've ever bottomed, right?
Hmm.
But he doesn't call it that. He calls it uh welcoming. And the top is depositing.
No, donating.
Donating.
Depositing would be better, but
Depositing
it's
is what birds do.
right. No, Kodiak donates
Which
because
is
they're
so fucking disgusting.
it's like the filthiest language I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And the reason that it's used on Federation is because it's value neutral terms or something they call it. So
Fuck
it's
off,
like
dude.
there's no like inherent misogyny in the like submissive or like dominating types. And so, but like you couldn't have picked there's so many other words you could have chosen.
The woke agenda has gone too far.
Like they could have even just said giving and receiving. That would have still been cringe as fuck, but it wouldn't be as bad as welcoming and like welcoming.
Yeah. That's some
Bye.
shit.
Like you told me that it was coming, and I even still had to like pause the book and leave the room because I couldn't be in the same space that I had just heard these words.
No. It's bad.
It's
And like you hear that shit and I get the impression that the author sat there and thought about it. Like in not only inventing the concept of value neutral, which hey man, fuck you, shut up. That's so far beyond what is acceptable. Like at some point you have to go, things don't need to be neutral.
And like to be honest, donating isn't necessarily like neutral. Like it's still somebody giving up something for the benefit of someone else.
Got him. We got him.
So like
Got him in a
the
logic.
whole thing
It's just
is
so
just
bad. But
so
like, he
bad.
clearly put a bunch of thought into this, and yet
Yeah.
we still got World War Three, four, and five.
Yeah, like it's all part of this same thread that's like, oh, well, because we're so many thousands of years into the future, like definitely we're over all of the shit that's tethering us to like archaic ideals. But he only goes half a step, or what he thinks is like half a step farther, like his idea of what that, I don't even know. Like
Right.
it's not untethered enough from our current society. He's just changing words around, but they all mean the same thing. It's like
But
skin prints or
wasn't
like
the alleged year when they left, wasn't that like in the 2000 somethings?
oh,
It
yeah,
was
you know
only a
what? You're
couple
right.
hundred years away from us.
That's right. Okay.
But even still, it's so outrageous to think that at some point society went, you know what? Like, value denominations in sex and relationships just aren't, like, those have got to go. So we're inventing new words. And it's like, hey,
Yeah.
don't. Sex is supposed to be filthy. Like, it's gross, dude. Think about it. That's not like,
Yeah.
welcoming has no business in sex. Also, the implication is so awful. It sounds like cult shit.
It honestly does. Like I think a lot of the things he says and uses as like evolved terms just really end up sounding like cult jargon.
Yeah. Like, welcoming is such a cult term.
And so is donating, actually. Like,
Yeah.
but because it would only ever be like the cult leader who gets to fuck everybody. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
leader is donating
No,
their like divine essence.
the donating applies to you donating all of your earthly gains to me.
Mm, my bank statements,
I'm gonna need those.
phone
Gotta
records.
have
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Can't have you calling people. They're gonna want to know where your money went, but it's fine. It's with me. I welcome your money. Um. Anyway, now don't worry. That's not done. We're not done talking about that. That comes up later again. But for now, they decide after they you know, make a deposit. They decide to kill all the other clones, which I
Except
thought,
for one pair, I think.
yeah, which I thought was extremely short-sighted.
Yeah.
Because A, they know how the game works. They know that these clones are woken up every couple thousand years to do piddly maintenance on the ship so that it keeps
Hmm.
flying. So, forcing the ship to adapt to only having one set of clones left means that when those clones inevitably wake up, they will be left with a utter shitstorm of a mess to clean up. Because,
And they,
go ahead.
sorry, they know at this point that they have 12,000 years to go before they arrive at like the destination of the ship.
Yeah,
And they still decide to kill all of them.
right. Just assuming that 12,000 years on a ship that has had no maintenance whatsoever beyond whatever a rover can do by himself.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. You'll just wake up, it'll be fine.
Totally fine.
Um, So they go murder all the clones, and the AI freaks out. Like it's literally screaming at them.
Yeah, like from the other half of the ship.
It's kind of creepy,
Yeah.
but not really.
It's like the closest thing to creepy we get in this book, though.
Yeah. And then after they do that, the AI kind of like goes catatonic for a while
Mm-hmm.
and just stops talking and stops responding. And then they finally like coerce it into being on their side.
Yeah. Now that like it can't lie to them anymore because it
Yeah.
needs them to live for as long as possible because there's only one more set of clones. And like I don't know. Well, they must get back to doing tasks on the ship like
Maybe.
after they get OS on their side. But they start referring to the day that they killed all the clones as Annihilation Day. And the rest of this part is just Ambrose leaving video recordings for the final like clone Ambrose, and
Mhm.
all it is just like the most fucking self-indulgent diary of all time. Like
Yeah.
he's like every single year on Annihilation Day they basically release another one of the clones they murdered into space, and they like commemorate that somehow. And they he sends a message every year. He's like, one year I didn't like Kodiak that much. In fact, I hated him. In fact, I went on a hiking trip for 6 weeks inside of a video message that Minerva left for me, and I missed him terribly. And it just goes on and on about stuff that doesn't matter. And those clones like live until they're 37? And Kodiak
Pretty
dies
old.
from a tumor. Yeah.
They
Oh,
get a
older than
good
37?
yeah.
Oh,
Cuz they're 19 and I think they get a good 30 years out of it.
ooh,
So
okay.
they're like nearly 50 and then Kodiak dies of thyroid cancer
Yeah,
on a clone. You'd think they'd genetically engineer that shit out, but whatever.
I know.
Also, I made a note that I said it never surprises me that Ambrose is such a queen.
I know.
Like he's full. Like the fact that he said, "Oh, I've never welcomed before." It's like, you fucking liar. You have big bottom energy all over you, my friend.
Yeah, I get power bottom energy from Ambrose.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, they die. I think, and the worst part is like, as soon as Kodiak dies, Ambrose is like, "I'm gonna kill myself tonight."
I know.
Okay.
Come on. Well, you can't go one day.
You went 6 whole months without him before,
Mm-hmm.
because you were mad at him. You eat all the
I don't even
manicotti.
like he didn't even say why he was mad.
No, you just couldn't look at him. I can't stand him. Probably, probably never asked what was wrong. And
That's so
Ambrose was just
true.
like, "You were just supposed
You
to
should know.
know."
You should know me better by now. I thought you loved me.
Oh, they also found a plant on a dumb asteroid, and they started
Oh, yeah.
growing it in the ship. And I was like, "That's a terrible idea."
Yeah, especially so close to death. Like, they're like old when they find it. And they're like, oh, we'll just bring this into the ship and see what happens.
Yeah, and then in the next part, uh, Ambrose wakes up, and this is like the most bitch Ambrose wake up yet. He barely
Ye-
functions the whole time. But we learn that the plant that they found has completely overrun the ship and is destroying it.
Yeah. Who would have imagined that?
Like the AI is practically shaking Ambrose like, "You need to get up. The ship is in serious danger. If you don't do something soon, we're done for." And Ambrose is just like wandering around the ship going, "What?"
Yeah, he's just like the OS is even like adjust to this reality as quickly as possible. Like he's like Minerva. Like all he does is like cry for his mom and his sister. And OS is like they've both been dead for thousands of years at this point, Ambrose. Like time to fucking get it together. We are about to crash on your new home.
Yeah, and
And
like Kodiak turns up and he's like, Ambrose, what's going on, dude? And Ambrose is just like, what's happening? I can barely stand. And I wrote down like, hey man, get it together.
yeah, it's so embarrassing because normally I think there's been a couple instances where an Ambrose clone has like become catatonic with like either sadness or existential like dread, or now
Every
in
time.
this case,
They all have.
that's true. There's always a moment where they're
Yeah.
like,
At some
I
point
can't go on.
one of them starts curling up in their bed, freaking out. But
Hmm.
like there's this whole period, I kind of like blurred it all together, but there's like this whole period from when he wakes up and then the ship crashes on the planet. Ambrose is just wandering around, like dragging his knuckles literally because he can barely function. And I wrote down like typical that Ambrose didn't help at all in the ship crashing.
Yeah, and I think isn't he just like throwing up constantly?
Yeah. Which is something that the
Why?
other Ambroses never did a bunch. Usually
No,
they
that's true.
spew once or twice and then that's that. But he's just like
Yeah. Just wandering around, projectile vomiting,
and
unable to function.
yeah. And suddenly, after all of the hard work is done, Ambrose is finally like, wow, I'm fine.
Yeah,
And he starts wandering around and realizing that he's on this planet. Goes
the
looking,
exoplanet.
yeah. And they go, he just starts wandering, looking for Kodiak. And then I think they find out, like, mid journey, that there's a bunch of nitrogen on that planet that's making them super drunk.
Yeah, he like is looking for Kodiak and he starts like giggling to himself. He's like, "Ooh, this doesn't this kind of feels like I'm back in my Pepsi rum days or whatever."
Yeah.
And he finds Kodiak in like the ruins of the Aurora, and his leg is broken, and Ambrose is like wasted, and they kind of like stagger around drunk on nitrogen for a while and like
Yeah.
leaning into each other and being like, "Ooh, this feels kind of good." And then Kodiak like very seductively is like, "I've been watching videos from my past selves, and they say I should ask you about a little something called welcoming and donating." And I was like, "Can we not? Can we just not? Please?"
Yeah. And then the book goes into like the most fast forward it could possibly be.
Yeah, it goes to like 9 times the speed.
Yeah, because after they find each other, they go hang out in his pod, and then they're like, "Well, we better get to work being on this planet." And then they establish farms, they establish homes, they establish the AI. They bring the AI back, they put it in old rover, and then
Yeah.
the AI is doing gardening for them. Oh, by the way, we found a book somewhere in the fucking ship that teaches us how to survive on this planet that no one's ever heard of. So they just do all of this stuff, and genuinely, all of this is happening rapid fire. And then we take a quick break so they can be like, "What do you think we should call this planet?" And they're like, "Oh, you don't think like uh whatever it was called? It was like something super clinical."
Sagittarius
Yeah.
BB or something.
He's like, "Oh, you don't think that's a good name?" He's like, "No, I kind of want it to be something like Earth." And he's like, "Oh, should we call it Earth?" And I was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" No, do not call this planet Earth. You can't do that. There's already one called Earth. It's destroyed, but
Yeah.
you know, it's
They're like,
like
wait, we're here and we are Earth's last chance.
no,
So maybe this is Earth?
no, it isn't. That's like after Michael Jordan retired, you hang up his jersey. No one can wear that number anymore. Earth, like Earth is off the register.
Yeah, you just like, come on. A
So
little ingenuity.
then they decide on the second worst name for this planet and decide to call it Minerva.
It's so bad.
And then they find recordings of
Mm-hmm.
their real selves back on
Mm-hmm.
Earth, and Ambrose, real Ambrose is a little bitch prick.
Yeah, with like his like skin prints and like I don't know, the way that he was described, I can't remember what it said he was wearing, but whatever it was like very edgelord.
Yeah, pure douche.
Yeah.
And then Kodiak gets super pissed and he's like, turn that shit off.
Mm. Yeah, he's like, let's destroy all the recordings.
Yeah, even I was like, yeah, turn it off. Because this guy's talking, but he doesn't know. The fuck do you have to say to me?
No, the only thing we really get out of it is that all of the memories that they both had are real because they were like the real Kodiak and Ambrose were told there was going to be a space mission so that the
Right.
clones' memories would be accurate up to a point. And then they go in for like their medical screening, and
Yeah.
that's when they're basically told like the sample is taken from them at that moment in time, and then which is interesting because it's like how do you synthesize like memories?
Don't ask questions.
Okay.
This is coming from the author who came up with World Wars 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
Um, but also, like, recording Ambrose is like, hey, by the way, name the planet Cusk. It's what my mom wants. And I was like, the audacity of this bitch.
Yeah.
You're out of, like, everybody knows that this journey was going to take, like, what, 30,000 years?
Yeah.
Fuck you. You're dead. A
Yeah.
long time dead. You don't get to tell me what to do, you old bitch.
Yeah. Like as if that would their name would still be relevant tens of
Yeah.
thousands of years later.
So pretentious. Like, how far up one's ass do you have to be in order
I
to
know.
even formulate those kind of thoughts?
I know, and I love that once Kodiak is like, we should name it Minerva, Ambrose starts like weeping. He's like, oh my god, that's exactly what we should call it. And then finally this clone is like, hey, like maybe I could learn some of your language and we don't always have to speak mine all the time.
Yeah.
After fucking 30,000 years.
Yeah. And
Ambrose makes an offer to learn his language.
Kodiak is like, yeah, actually, that would be dope. Thanks.
Yeah.
And
But
then,
by this point, they've got like 16 greenhouses that Rover has printed and like a fucking
Yeah.
weather balloon.
and they've done fuck
And
all.
yeah.
Like they just kind of they're just kind of like looking at stuff.
Yeah, like I don't really know. Like they just have the easiest time imaginable.
Yeah.
There are no predators on this island. The weather conditions are perfect. The
They don't
climate is
really-
perfect.
Not really
Like,
exploring.
No.
Like
they're
I'd want
just
to
like,
explore.
yeah, like they just are immediately like, let's set up a permanent home right here.
Yeah, this
And it's
is
like-
this is it.
That's like setting up a permanent home in the desert in fucking Conan, like right away, and not
Yeah.
running.
Yeah, the
to
first
find,
place
like-
you see.
Yeah, that's just
Right
like
here next to
staying
the
in that little
alligators.
river. Yeah,
They'll
let's
go
just
away.
never leave. We'll never leave.
Yeah. Every trip up north is going to take an hour, but by God, my house is right next to the, like, I only had to walk 15 steps from the moment I spawned, and bam,
Yeah.
that house is down.
This is where I'm gonna stay forever.
But also, like, it's just them playing house. They've got Rover and the AI doing everything for them.
Yeah, they basically do the thing where they just like take a little wander through the greenhouse every so often and just like touch some leaves, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
aren't we doing something extraordinary?"
It's
Like,
very like
wow.
it's sort of like how the parents of the soon to be like the parents who are housing a surrogate, it's how they treat the surrogate. They treat it like a fine little piece of china.
Yeah, that's
Oh, do you
true.
need anything? Okay, well, just let us know, but don't come downstairs. We have guests.
Yeah, it reminds me too of like Marie Antoinette's hobby farm, where it's like all
Mm.
taken care of by
Mm-hmm.
like her servants, but she gets to show up in her little kerchief
Yeah.
and milk a cow every so often and like gather some eggs. And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm just like you."
I know what it's like to be a peasant.
Yeah.
And then we find out that they've been building this cockamamie machine. And it was very funny because as I was listening to this, I was playing Power Wash Simulator.
Mm-hmm.
And I was cleaning what it was like a one of the new maps, like a solar farm. But there's like
Oh,
this
that's
like
kind of fun.
sort of like a like oil refinery kind of piping all over it. And
Mm-hmm.
as they were describing it, I was just imagining this machine as like looking like oil refinery and how they were so touchy feely with it. And I'm like, are you all up on this machine? And then it like spits out a baby. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, because the book all of a sudden in like the last 15 minutes is like, oh, by the way, remember that secret locked room that we mentioned at the beginning and never mentioned again? Well, not only did that room have a bunch of cool stuff for them to build farms with, a guide on how to survive this planet, but it also had a whole bunch of zygotes in it and like schematics for a machine to incubate them. Also, a bunch of different zygotes just in case inbreeding becomes a thing.
Yeah, thousands of zygotes that miraculously survived the 30,000 years and
And the
the
crash.
ship crashing, like where the ship was blown apart, like
Yeah.
pieces were in varying places, and somehow all of these little like miracle babies are alive, and then Ambrose and Kodiak just start hatching them.
Yeah, and no joke, the book ends with like the baby being done in the microwave. They pick it up and then just kind of like do the old school like shake it upside down until it starts crying, and then the
Yeah.
book ends.
Yeah.
That's it,
That's it.
folks.
No afterword, no nothing.
This I think this is the first book in podcast history where it lost us in the start, got us back in the middle, and lost us again at the end.
Yeah.
Very disappointing stuff.
I
Like
know.
I was having a great time right up until like this last section, and I was like, sucks. Did you run out of time? Was the deadline crawling up your ass?
I know. It's almost like he decided, you know what? Like, I've made it hard enough for them. Smooth sailing from here on out. Like, they've been through enough.
Well, I mean, that's it. I don't really have anything
Yeah.
else to say about it.
No, like, it was a fine book.
Yeah.
It's not one I would ever recommend to anybody, but it's
No.
also not one I would say absolutely do not read that.
Yeah, I
Like,
was not
if
offended
you
by
want
it.
No, it's an if you need some padding for your Goodreads book challenge,
Yeah.
listen to this book and play like a nice video game while you do it. Like, it's not a hard listen. It's
Right.
very temperate. Like,
Get your dailies in Destiny or Guild Wars 2 or whatever, or build
yeah.
your build your starter location house in Conan Exiles.
And just stay there.
Yeah, never move, and keep it tier 1 materials only.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, look, the good news is that we get to pick a new book now,
Mm-hmm.
which is very exciting because we've got some bangers on the list, folks.
Exclusively bangers.
Let's bring this shit up. Let's pop it. Let's pop it up. So we've got here. Um, Let me bring up the authors so I know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, smart.
We have the Hollow King by John French, which is a Warhammer Age of Sigmar book. We've got Sabriel by Garth Nix, classic. I've heard
Read
about
by
this.
Tim Curry.
Yeah, read by Tim Curry, which is big, huge.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard about this book for 1,000 years.
Me too.
We've got Cold as Hell by Rhett C. Bruno and James Castle or Castile. Probably Castle.
Could be either, honestly.
But that's read by Roger Clark, who did the voice of Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2. Where the book's essentially about like a cowboy demon hunter, which cool.
Dope.
We've got A Song for Arbonne by Guy Gavriel Kay, which will be a banger no matter what. And finally, we've got Homeland by R.A. Salvatore, which is the first book chronologically not released. The Drizzt Do'Urden series. Boy, what a lineup, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Shall we spin? Shall we spin and see what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, folks. Get ready.
You're gonna have to tell me what it is.
It is going to be Sabriel.
Fuck yeah!
Nice.
That's great news.
We love it. So we're going to be reading Sabriel next, folks. Which this is the problem with the way that we're doing the wheel now, where when a book gets chosen, we keep everything else and just add a new book in.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be books on there that are there forever.
That's okay.
Yeah, because we'll get to them eventually, maybe, unless the statistics
Unless
really
they're
hate
never
them.
chosen. Yeah. No, I'm stoked at Sabriel though, because it's been on my to read list for like a good decade and a bit.
Yeah. It'll be nice because I've heard of this book forever. I know nothing about it.
From what I understand, it's a young girl and she's like a necromancer, I believe.
Dope.
Yeah.
And it's read by Tim Curry. Fucking count me in, dude.
I know. I have a hard copy because I found it at the used bookstore near my place, and it's the full trilogy, but I think I might listen to the audiobook.
For Tim Curry? I don't blame you.
Yeah. I know.
Well, I mean, this is a really short episode, but
that's okay.
It's not our fault. This book just gave us nothing to work with.
We really did our best with this one.
We weren't gonna sit here and like pad it out, talk about, because the even though we essentially listened to about 3 hours of material for this particular episode, wasn't much to talk about in it.
No, like usually I take extensive notes no matter what, but I have almost
nothing
none.
to write.
Like
yeah.
There's just like long stretches of time where it's just Ambrose trying to figure out why and like
Yeah,
being catatonic or lusting after Kodiak and trying to find like porn that resembles him. And then a lot of like repeat relationship reestablishing
yeah,
because it's like we don't have to redo all of the events in the same order, but they always have to relearn who the other person is and go through the process of getting horny for each other again. And it's like that part gets a little repetitive,
yeah.
but
But that's the nature
I
of
didn't hate it.
it's no, I did not hate this book. I enjoyed it right up until I didn't. And you know, unfortunately it's the nature of the beast when you decide to write a Groundhog Day book.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, folks, we'll see you in 2 weeks for Sabriel. Man, that's exciting. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
All right, everybody. Toodly doo. We'll see you next time.
Farewell.
Bye, everybody.